Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rhyme of the Times for the week ending 20th of December 2025. Why, oh why, that's the cry after 15 die in the carnage of Bondi. The UN accessed money to buy Ukraine supplies to defy Russia as they attack from the sky a country that Putin wants to occupy. With flu cases so high, Wes and Keir decry the doctors' strike with the country's coffers running dry. Strictly says a big goodbye. On Sunday, the depths that anti-Semites can reach was evident in the massacre on Bondi Beach. Most don't act on the hatred that they preach, but a few are prepared to step into the breach. Sajid and Naveed Akman, a father and son, were the two cowards on this occasion who had come to destroy life and fun in the Sydney sun, because they believed they were the chosen ones, chosen to murder every Jew on that day, just because they hate people who believe that way. And so they came to bring darkness upon the sight of a celebration for the Festival of Light, celebration intended to go into the night, but before day turned to night it turned into a sight of something resembling a battlefield fight. Two IS acolytes drenched in hatred and spite turned fun-filled frolic into fear and fright, and denied 15 Jews their most basic human right. 15 innocents losing their right to life on December the 14th, 2025. There seems no limit to the human propensity for pursuing self-destruction with intensity. Systems and rules we ourselves created that now help iniquity to be cultivated. On a planet of 7.5 billion souls, just look at who's been left at the controls. A handful of men of advanced age and full of rage, now directing what happens on the world stage. And so we now have the ridiculous situation of one of the planet's biggest nations allowed to continue its occupation of a smaller nation without authorization. Just because Ukraine isn't in the NATO clique, it's found itself up the proverbial creek. No paddle provided, just enough fire and flak to hardly defend itself and hardly hit back. NATO keeps cheering on Ukraine from the sidelines, but its red lines are increasingly wide lines. The Russians keep advancing with impunity, sticking it to the international community. NATO's a talking shop, a talking megastore, a defensive alliance aiming to avoid war. Even when another country has started it, the only way NATO will take part in it is if the dispute that needs to be resolved has a signed-up NATO member involved. Otherwise, their own rules have their hands tied. They can't join the fray, fight for the right side. Ukraine are now learning the lesson hard for not being granted their membership card. And Russia's poison gnome, the devil's clone, with short man syndrome and an ego overblown, who keeps creating scenes that chill to the bone, killing women and babies with bombs and drones, can't move on, thinks history's there to be repeated, so Ukraine's independence by force must be defeated. The US was once the West's trump card, now it's not, with Trump as useful as a chocolate teapot. On Monday he promised he'd protect Ukraine, but only after it's ceded more of its terrain. And the rules-based system that Putin would eschew, ironically this week came to his rescue. Sanctions imposed on Russia have many facets, including the freezing of their overseas assets. On Friday, the EU proposed to use Russian moolah raised from these assets to stop Ukraine being mullahd. The logic and fairness could not be plainer. Surely the decision should be a no-brainer, but Belgium and other countries pushed back, scared of the law and how Russia might react. To lawyers, it's a fascinating paradox. To the man on the street, it's a load of bollocks. Using dirty Russian cash to stop their own awful acts might itself be considered an unlawful act. So instead, the EU gave a €90 billion loan to help Ukraine to keep fighting Russia on its own. Secured against Russian assets, it's quite a neat way of helping Ukraine to stave off defeat, because the threat for Europe is existential, and without the US such support is essential. Flu cases this year has hit Britain early and hard, almost catching the NHS off guard. And now, with Christmas within touching distance, streetings trying to break the doctors' resistance. The Health Secretary's impatience is not surprising, as the number of flu patients is quickly rising. But in spite of Wes's insults, threats and warnings, doctors went ahead with their strike Wednesday morning. 5 days of patients and staff having to cope with resident doctors downing stethoscopes. They say that all that glitters is not gold, but the ball that glitters is one to behold. And in this year's Strictly Come Dancing finale, the glitter ball was handed to Karen Carney. The former lioness and now soccer pundit is the first footballer to have ever won it. But Saturday's show may be remembered the most as the last one for Tess and Claudia as hosts. A consummate double act who could proudly boast of 21 years getting viewers engrossed. And on Christmas Day, the BBC will give one last toast to Daly and Winkleman as they vacate their post, as a golden era in Strictly's history is closed.